Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be reviewing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 34-23 loss versus the Saints in Week 1. Now, I do want to say first things first that this game was definitely a wake-up call, not just for us as a fan base, but I think for the team in general. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that a lot of these guys bought into their own hype, but I will say that maybe some of these younger guys might have come into this game a little bit overconfident. Now, I think that they prepared their absolute hardest for this game. They have to, okay? They have too many people around them holding each other accountable to not come into this game unprepared. But for whatever reason, there were communication issues, penalty issues, and just overall lack of chemistry in certain aspects of this team. And we will talk about that in a little bit. But I do want to start off with some of the positives. Now, the first guy I want to talk about is Tom Brady. And I will talk about the negatives with Tom Brady. Just please follow me on this one. Tom Brady finished the game with 23 of 36 passing, 239 yards, 2 touchdown passes with 2 passing interceptions. We will talk about those. And then 3 attempts, 9 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. So Tom Brady accounted for 3 total touchdowns for the Buccaneers today, which overall isn't a bad game. It's not Tom Brady level standards under any circumstances, and he does need to improve, and I think he will improve as he builds more chemistry and just overall communication with the rest of his offense. But things could have definitely been worse. It was nice to see Tom Brady run in for a rushing touchdown for the first ever Tom Brady touchdown in Tampa Bay Buccaneers history. It was just kind of hilarious that it was a rushing touchdown. But overall, Tom Brady seemed relatively average in this game, but I did want to mention it here simply because, hey, he didn't have a super terrible game, especially given the amount of prep time he had. He has not had a lot of time to work with, and he had a rushing touchdown, which I think is amazing given that it's Tom Brady. But the next player I want to talk about is Sean Murphy-Bunting, who I thought overall had a pretty decent game as a tackler and just being all around the field. He had 5 total tackles in this game, 1 tackle for loss. He was looking pretty darn good in run defense and in pass coverage as well. It doesn't blow up at the stat sheets or anything like that, but I do think that Sean Murphy-Bunting was overall solid. The next player I want to talk about, Devin White, 11 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Much like Sean Murphy-Bunting, he was completely everywhere. It was pretty awesome to see, in my opinion. He looked really good in coverage. He looked really good in run defense, and it's one of the reasons he's a captain. He was awesome in this game, just being a tackling machine. His hand strength, making open field tackles on guys like Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray, among others, was very, very impressive to see. I thought Devin White had a very, very good game. Next player I want to talk about, William Golston, who did finish this game with 2 tackles for loss, and I think 7 total tackles, 3 tackles, and then 4 assisted tackles. Not bad at all, actually, but one of the biggest things that I put William Golston on this list for was simply because he stole a man's soul in run defense. If you guys didn't see the play, I can't put it up here now, but go back and watch the game. William Golston blew through the offensive line and just absolutely smashed Latavius Murray for a loss of yardage. It was pretty darn incredible to watch, so shout out to William Golston there. He's still doing pretty good in run defense. The next player I want to highlight, and in my opinion was the player of this game, was Lavonte David. 11 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss, was absolutely everywhere in pass coverage and run defense. It's one of the reasons he's one of the best linebackers in the NFL today, as well as a team captain. Lavonte David's good at football, and Lavonte David did good things in this game, hands down. The next player I want to mention, O.J. Howard, who didn't do a ton. He only had 4 catches, 36 yards, but he did have a touchdown. He had the first touchdown pass ever from Tom Brady as a Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So shout out to him for that. And I was pretty overall impressed with O.J. Howard, not just his receiving ability, but just his effort, I think. I think O.J. Howard was trying really darn hard in this game, and I think you could see that while watching the game. He was going out there, laying out for every catch. He didn't come away with every catch, but he was still giving it his best effort. So I do give him points for that. He did have 6 targets in this game, which is pretty interesting to see how that's going to move going forward. It seems like Tom Brady and O.J. Howard might have a little bit of chemistry there. I do want to see how that develops in the coming weeks, starting next week with the Carolina Panthers. Next player, Carlton Davis, who, if you don't think Carlton Davis had a good game in this game versus the Saints, I don't know what to tell you, because Michael Thomas was held to just 3 catches for 17 yards. Now, I'm sure Michael Thomas was getting double covered a lot in this game, and I did see that a couple of times, but Carlton Davis very much held his own today versus Michael Thomas. And yes, he did have a penalty here or there, but overall, I thought Carlton Davis played a pretty darn good game. He held Michael Thomas to 3 catches for 17 yards. I had talked about in the preview that you couldn't stop a guy like Michael Thomas. You could just try and slow him down, but Carlton Davis proved me wrong today. He basically completely stopped Michael Thomas cold in his tracks. So shout out to him for that. Next player I want to mention, Jason Pierre-Paul, who they did do some weird things with in this game. At one point, I saw him covering Emmanuel Sanders on an underneath route. I didn't like that at all, but Jason Pierre-Paul did finish with 3 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 sack on Drew Brees. It finally happened. Shaq Barrett didn't get a sack in this game, but Jason Pierre-Paul did. I saw in this game, they were double-teaming Shaq Barrett and Vita Vea quite a lot, and Jason Pierre-Paul was a beneficiary of one of those times when that happened. He came through completely untouched and was able to sack Drew Brees. It was a thing of absolute beauty. Next player I want to mention, Chris Godwin, who did finish this game with 7 targets, 6 catches, and 79 yards. Overall, pretty solid game, especially with Mike Evans being hampered by his hamstring injury. You could tell he was not 100%. So Chris Godwin stepped up in a pretty decent way. Didn't have a super incredible Chris Godwin game, but still pretty darn solid with 79 total yards. Didn't get a touchdown. I'm sure we can get him one next week, but overall, Chris Godwin did a pretty fine job. Next player I want to mention is another wide receiver, Scotty Miller, who finished this game with 6 targets, 5 receptions, and 73 receiving yards. Overall, pretty solid game by Scotty Miller. He's starting to build that chemistry with Tom Brady, and, you know, we are starting to see that pay off in dividends. Scotty Miller did a pretty darn good job in this game. Now, he did make one mistake, and I will talk about that mistake here very, very soon, but overall, Scotty Miller, I thought, did a pretty decent job. The next player I want to mention is offensive tackle rookie Tristan Wirfs, who I thought held up in pass blocking very, very well this time versus Cameron Jordan. I thought he did a pretty darn good job. He wasn't getting a lot of pressure coming his way, versus Cameron Jordan. He held his own pretty much in spades. So very happy to see the young rookie do that. Very happy to see Tristan Wirfs get his foot off on the right place. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. It was good that Tristan Wirfs started off his rookie season in a pretty big positive way, especially considering the guy who he was going up against, that being Cam Jordan. Finally, guys, the last thing I want to highlight here in the positives category, and I know there were some people who had pretty good games. For example, Ronald Jones, 17 carries, 66 yards, 3.9 yards a rush, 2 catches, 16 yards on 3 targets. Ronald Jones had a pretty decent game, okay? I do want to add him in that list as well, but I want to highlight the Tampa Bay Buccaneers run defense. And if you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers run defense didn't do good, I don't know what to tell you. Latavius Murray, 15 carries, 48 yards. That's 3.2 yards a carry. Alvin Kamara, 12 carries, 16 yards for 1.3 yards a carry. Overall, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers run defense pretty much picked up right where it left off. They really held these guys tough in terms of their yards and just their overall gainage that they were getting in the run game, and I'm very proud of them for that. And I think just that capitalizes what was an overall pretty decent showing from the defense as a whole. Now, did they have a couple of problems that really snowballed into some big situations? Yes, they did. I will talk about those in a minute, but they made the New Orleans Saints punt 6 times in that game. That's not an easy thing to do, especially given the capabilities of this Saints offense. You made them punt 6 times. That's impressive in my opinion. So overall, I feel like the Buccaneers defense didn't do that bad of a job. But speaking of bad, we're now going to start talking about some of the bad that was in this game, and we need to start with Donovan Smith. Donovan Smith did not have the best game in the world. If you guys were there in the live stream, I know a lot of people are angry with Donovan Smith, and he didn't do a very good job. Marcus Davenport was not in this game. Trey Hendrickson was in this game, and he got the better of Donovan Smith a couple of times, and it was very frustrating to see because Donovan Smith wasn't holding up, yet Tristan Wirfs was doing a way better job than Donovan Smith, and Tristan Wirfs is a rookie. Donovan Smith has been a starter in the NFL for the past 4 to 5 years, so you really would have expected a little bit of a better showing from Donovan Smith. Now, I know playing left tackle in the NFL is incredibly difficult. You make, I don't know, 3 mistakes in a game, and it's highlighted for the entire week, but Donovan Smith really actually did have a pretty rough game, in my opinion. Now, I will go back, watch the tape, because I have access to the coach's film now. I have NFL Game Pass, so I will go back and watch, but just in terms of an overall quick viewing of the game from the broadcast perspective, Donovan Smith struggled, I think. The next player I want to talk about, Ryan Suckup. He did all right. I believe he was 1 of 2 for his field goals. Let me see. Yeah, 1 of 2 for his field goals. He made both of his extra points, but he did have one of his field goals blocked, which sucked. It's not his fault. I believe Alex Kappa basically let 2 guys get right past him and block that field goal, but I just wish that didn't happen. So, I don't know. Ryan Suckup, I just put him on here for the blocked field goal. It's not technically his fault, but it is what it is. Next person I want to talk about is Mike Edwards. Can we talk about Mike Edwards for a minute? He didn't play a lot. He really didn't. He was really kind of more just, put on special teams, but he had the worst play of the entire game. I don't know why the Saints did this. It was kind of like a pooch kick almost. It was definitely a very short-esque type of kick. And instead of letting Jadon Mickens, who was there ready to receive the kick, have him receive the kick, Mike Edwards instead thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to run over there and I'm going to try and return the kick, which didn't go well. It bounced right off of his hands. The Saints recovered, and I think that led to a Saints score in some way. It was either a field goal or a touchdown. They had some type of score because of the mistake that Mike Edwards made. It was the worst play of the game by far, and one of the most boneheaded plays I've seen in a long time. You can't have that. Now, some people are going to say, oh, Mike Edwards is going to get cut tomorrow, and I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. But holy crap, you cannot have a play like that ever again. Oh my gosh, that was one of the worst plays I've seen in such a long time. Mike Edwards, you cannot be doing that. The next bad thing I want to mention is the run blocking. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers seemingly still can't run block, especially Donovan Smith. That man is getting beat in run blocking a lot, and I know that I sound very mad and, energetic right now in my anger, but in all seriousness, no, this team still can't run block. I don't know why. It's been, a couple of years now this offensive line has been together. Nothing has really changed minus Tristan Wirfs now coming in, and we still can't seem to run block very well. Why is that the case? I'm unsure, but Donovan Smith needs to start run blocking better. We need to see Alex Kappa do a little bit better in run blocking as well. Ali Marpet, Ryan Jensen, I thought they had an overall solid day, but it's just 2 guys, out of 5 that could just bring the whole thing down in terms of run blocking, and I think Donovan Smith needs to do a little bit better, and I think Alex Kappa needs to do a little bit better as well, especially Donovan Smith. I can't get over that one. He had a really rough game today. Next thing I want to talk about is going to be the penalties. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a lot of penalties in this game. I believe they had 8 or 9 penalties in this game. You guys can let me know down in the comment section below. I think the last number was, I'm just going to guess and say it was 9. Let's just say they had 9 penalties, okay? Even if they had 8, that's still a lot, and that still goes to show the discipline that this team needs to start instilling for them to not have as many penalties. We need to start having better discipline so these guys aren't committing as many penalties. A false start here, a neutral zone infraction here, a defensive holding here, a pass interference over here. Now, the pass interference ones, I'm a little bit more willing to forgive considering, the NFL refs call anything pass interference these days, but some of those things like neutral zone infractions, false starts, things like that, those are pretty much inexcusable in my opinion. You need to have the discipline to know when to jump at a snap and when not to jump at a snap, both on the offensive side of the football and the defensive side of the football. That's You need to do that to be a successful football team. So penalties, we've got to clean those up quickly, and I think that will come with time. We just have to continue to work on this. The next thing I want to mention is communication. Can we talk about communication? You know, I've been taking a lot of business classes lately. It's for my major, and they talk about the importance of communication in the field of business. And I'm starting to see now that it's also very important in the field of the NFL. There was such a lack of chemistry and communication, not so much on the defensive side of the ball, definitely on the offensive side of the ball, and on special teams as well. We need to see more communication and more chemistry with these guys. We saw it in the Mike Edwards play, which was just terrible. We saw it a lot on the offensive side of the football as well. There was one play when Tom Brady threw an interception and Mike Evans seemingly stopped on his route. Wasn't necessarily sure what that was about. Also, Tom Brady got a pick six. That's not good as well, and you can chalk a little bit of that up to Tom Brady and a little bit up to that to the wide receiver running the route as well. It was just a bad look. It was a good play by Janoris Jenkins, maybe not the best throw by Tom Brady. I will say it probably wasn't the best throw by Tom Brady, but still, regardless, a lot of these problems that came up today, the penalties, the kickoff return, good lord, the kickoff return, the blocking, all these things that I've been mentioning up to this point, a lot of it has to do with chemistry and communication. We need to see better communication, and that starts from the top to the bottom, okay? That starts with the coaching staff, that starts with leaders like Tom Brady, Devin White, Levante David, Mike Evans needs to do a little bit better job of communicating. This team needs to start building chemistry, and I think that will come. It just is going to take a little bit of time. This team has had very little time to gel with each other right now. They barely had a training camp. They didn't have OTAs. They didn't have any type of mini camp. They didn't have preseason games. This team is still trying to mold and gel together, and it's very apparent. There's a lot of new starters on the offensive and defensive sides of the football, and they just need to gel a little bit better with their communications, and that will come with time. Trust me, it will come with time. Next couple last things I want to talk about. Jamel Dean, he gave up a very long touchdown to Jared Cook. He got beat by a tight end. That's not good. You can't have that. Also, Jamel Dean did not do good in blocking punts today. I guess what I should say is he was one of the guys who was blocking for Jadon Mickens as a returner. He was one of the outside guys. He did not do a good job today. He got burnt a couple of times in punt coverage. He's got to do better than that, because quite frankly, he's going to get Jadon Mickens killed, and I don't want to see that. Next couple of things I want to talk about, there was a Scotty Miller play. He did have a really good game, but there was one play where he flat out ran into Donovan Smith, pushed Donovan Smith down, and that resulted in, I believe, Tom Brady getting sacked. So, not good. Not good at all. Just kind of more communication issues, things like that. Tom Brady had the 2 picks. We did talk about that. And the last thing I do want to mention, Bradley Pinion. He didn't have the worst game ever, but I do believe there was at least 2 punts out of the 5 he had that he definitely would have liked to have gotten back. But yeah, guys, overall, this team really just needs to improve on their communications, and I think they will be a lot better, and I think that will come with time. Tom Brady will not allow this level of communication to stay. Bruce Arians will not allow this level of communication to stay. The leaders that are on this team, on the offensive, defensive, special team sides of the football, as well as the coaching staff, they're not going to allow these type of mistakes to continue. They need to be more consistent, and they need to be better at communicating, and that's going to start with building chemistry on the offensive side of the football, and just the coaching staff building chemistry with the guys as well, and just everybody trying to figure out more what everybody else is trying to do. Okay? So, yeah, that's just kind of the moral of the story here, is all these small mistakes that snowballed into just absolute pain. It all breaks down to chemistry and communication, and I think we will see better chemistry and communication moving forward, starting versus the Carolina Panthers next week. But, yeah, guys, that's it for this video. Let me know what you think about all of my points down in the comment section below. Did I miss anything? What do you guys think about some of the good and some of the bad from this game? If there's anything that I missed, let me know down in the comment section below. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.